Behaviorism stands as one of the most influential movements in psychology, fundamentally changing how we understand learning and behavior. Emerging in the early 20th century, behaviorism shifted psychology's focus from subjective mental experiences to observable and measurable actions. By insisting that only what can be seen and quantified should be studied, behaviorists brought scientific rigor to the field. This approach not only transformed research methods, but also impacted education, therapy, parenting, and even advertising. Today, behaviorism's legacy is visible in classrooms, clinics, and workplaces, where its principles guide behavior management and learning strategies. Let's explore how behaviorism became a cornerstone of modern psychology. Appreciate behaviorism. It's important to understand its historical context. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, psychology relied heavily on introspection, asking individuals to describe their thoughts and feelings. However, many researchers doubted whether these subjective experiences could be measured reliably. Behaviorists argued that psychology should focus on observable phenomena, using controlled experiments and objective measurements. This scientific emphasis became a defining feature of behaviorism, setting it apart from earlier approaches. By prioritizing what could be seen and tested, behaviorism laid the groundwork for psychology as a true science. Behaviorist approaches share several fundamental assumptions. First, behavior is learned rather than innate. Most behaviors, from language to social skills, are acquired through interaction with the environment. Second, psychology should focus on observable actions, such as speaking or running, rather than internal thoughts or emotions. Third, the environment plays a major role in shaping behavior, with reinforcement, punishment, and observation driving change. Finally, learning follows predictable principles. Behaviors rewarded tend to increase, while those punished decrease. These assumptions allow psychologists to predict and modify behavior, making behaviorism highly practical. Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physiologist, made a groundbreaking discovery while studying digestion in dogs. He noticed that dogs would salivate not only when food was presented, but also when they heard feeding routines or saw laboratory assistants. This observation led Pavlov to investigate how associations between stimuli are formed. Through controlled experiments, Pavlov demonstrated that organisms can learn to associate a neutral stimulus, like a bell, with a meaningful one, such as food. His work laid the foundation for classical conditioning, a core concept in behaviorism. Pavlov's classical conditioning involves three main steps. First, before conditioning, food naturally causes dogs to salivate. Second, during conditioning, a neutral stimulus like a bell is paired with food, and the dogs begin to associate the two. After repeated pairings, the bell alone triggers salivation, showing that learning has occurred. This process demonstrates how behaviors can be conditioned through association. Classical conditioning is not limited to animals. It explains many human behaviors, including the development of fears and preferences. Classical conditioning includes several important concepts: acquisition, extinction, spontaneous recovery, generalization, and discrimination. Acquisition is the process of learning the association between stimuli. Extinction occurs when the conditioned stimulus is presented without the unconditioned stimulus, weakening the response. Spontaneous recovery is when a conditioned response reappears after a rest period. Generalization means similar stimuli can trigger the conditioned response, while discrimination involves learning to distinguish between them. These concepts help explain how learning is maintained, lost, and adapted. Classical conditioning has many practical applications. Phobias often develop through learned associations, such as a child bitten by a dog later fearing all dogs. In advertising, products are paired with positive imagery or emotions, leading consumers to associate good feelings with the product. In education, teachers create positive environments so students link learning with enjoyment. Behavioral therapy uses classical conditioning principles to reduce anxiety and phobias, helping individuals overcome fears through systematic desensitization. John B. Watson is often called the founder of behaviorism. In 1913, he published the Behaviorist Manifesto, arguing that psychology should focus solely on behavior and abandon the study of consciousness. Watson believed that environmental influence could shape any individual into any specialist, a view that sparked debate but highlighted the power of learning. His emphasis on controlled experimentation, objective observation, and scientific prediction shaped modern psychological research, making behaviorism the dominant approach for decades. Watson's most famous experiment involved an infant known as Little Albert. Initially, Albert showed no fear of white rats, rabbits, or dogs. Researchers paired the rat with a loud, frightening noise, and after several repetitions, Albert began to fear the rat. This conditioned fear extended to other white, furry objects, demonstrating stimulus generalization. Watson's work showed that emotional responses, such as fear, can be learned. However, the experiment is now criticized for ethical reasons, as Albert's distress was never alleviated. Edward Thorndike bridged early behaviorism and Skinner's operant conditioning. His puzzle box experiments with cats revealed that learning occurs through trial and error. Cats learn to escape by performing specific actions, and over time, successful behaviors were retained while unsuccessful ones were discarded. Thorndike's law of effect states that responses followed by satisfying consequences are more likely to recur, while those followed by discomfort are less likely. This principle became the foundation for later theories of reinforcement. Thorndike's ideas greatly influenced educational psychology. He argued that practice strengthens learning. The more often behaviors are performed, the stronger they become. Feedback supports learning, as students improve when informed about their performance. Reinforcement increases motivation, with praise and rewards encouraging desired behaviors. Many modern educational practices, such as regular feedback and reward systems, reflect Thorndike's principles, making learning more effective and engaging. F. Skinner is perhaps the most influential behaviorist, focusing on voluntary behaviors and their consequences. Operant conditioning refers to learning through rewards and punishments. Skinner designed the Skinner box, where animals learned that certain actions produced rewards. He identified positive reinforcement, adding something desirable, and negative reinforcement, removing something unpleasant, as well as punishment to reduce behavior. Skinner's work revealed how behavior can be shaped and maintained through systematic reinforcement. Skinner recognized that complex behaviors develop gradually. Shaping involves reinforcing successive steps toward a target behavior, such as teaching a child to read by rewarding letter recognition, word formation, and eventually independent reading. Skinner also discovered that reinforcement schedules, how often rewards are given, affect learning. Continuous reinforcement leads to rapid learning but quick extinction, while partial reinforcement makes behavior more persistent. These insights are widely used in behavior management and education. Albert Bandura moved beyond traditional behaviorism, arguing that people often learn by observing others rather than through direct experience. His Bobo doll studies showed that children imitate aggressive behavior after watching adults, even without direct reinforcement. Bandura identified 4 stages of observational learning: attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation. He also introduced vicarious reinforcement, where individuals learn by observing rewards and punishments given to others. Bandura's concept of self-efficacy added a cognitive dimension, highlighting the importance of belief in one's abilities. Behaviorism's influence remains strong in education, therapy, organizational behavior, and parenting. Classroom management, reward systems, and feedback strategies are rooted in behaviorist principles. Behavioral therapies, such as exposure therapy and systematic desensitization, help individuals overcome fears and modify behavior. Employers use bonuses and recognition schemes to motivate employees, while parents apply rewards and consequences to guide children. Despite criticism for ignoring mental processes, behaviorism's practical impact is undeniable. Behaviorism brought scientific rigor to psychology, offering clear explanations for how behaviors develop and change. Its principles are supported by strong empirical evidence and have extensive practical applications. However, behaviorism is criticized for ignoring mental processes like memory and reasoning, overemphasizing environmental determinism, and providing limited explanations for complex behaviors such as creativity and language. Ethical concerns and artificial research settings also challenge its findings. Modern psychology now integrates behaviorist and cognitive ideas for a more comprehensive understanding. Behaviorism's greatest legacy is its commitment to scientific investigation and its demonstration that behavior can be understood, predicted, and modified. Although pure behaviorism is rare today, its principles are embedded in contemporary practice, including cognitive behavioral therapy and evidence-based educational interventions. For students and professionals, behaviorism provides a critical foundation for understanding learning theory, the history of psychology, and the development of effective strategies for behavior change. Its influence continues to shape how we teach, treat, and motivate others.